I died, choking on my own blood. The taste of rust and regret flooding my mouth as the icy Hudson River swallowed me whole. Betrayed by the man I'd called my savior. The one who'd pulled me from the gutter of failed startups and into the glittering world of Wall Street wolves. And now, as my eyes snapped open in the stale air of my cramped Brooklyn apartment, staring at the faded calendar on the wall marked September 15th, 2018, 7 years before that fatal plunge, I knew this wasn't a dream. I'd been given a second shot. And hell if I wouldn't make them all pay. The first thing that hit me was the smell, cheap instant coffee and unwashed ambition. The kind that clung to every broke millennial hustling in New York. I bolted upright on my lumpy futon, heart hammering like I'd just run the marathon. My hands, younger, unscarred by the boardroom battles to come, trembled as I touched my face, feeling the smooth skin of 25-year-old Savannah Reed, not the hollowed-out shell I'd become at 32. The mirror across the room confirmed it. Wide green eyes, wild auburn hair tangled from sleep, no crow's feet from endless nights plotting mergers. It was me, before the fortune, before the fall. I laughed then, a sharp, bitter bark that echoed off the peeling wallpaper. Holy shit, I whispered, the words tasting foreign after years of polished pitches. The memories crashed in like a tidal wave, the boardroom showdown. Elias's smug grin as he twisted my words into fraud accusations. The anonymous tip to the feds that tanked our empire overnight. Our empire. The one we'd built from nothing. Him with his old money connections, and me with the fire in my gut. Everyone had laughed at first, the hotshot kid from nowhere partnering with a dinosaur like Elias Hawthorne, 70 and creaky, nursing scotch in some Upper East Side den. Age gap disaster, the venture capitalists sneered over their kale smoothies. She'll burn out, he'll keel over. But we didn't. We exploded. And in the end, he buried me for it. That morning, I didn't cry. I didn't spiral into what-ifs. I grabbed my laptop, the ancient Dell that had seen better days, and pulled up the emails from that fateful week in 2018. There it was, the cold rejection from Vantage Capital, the firm that could have been our launch pad. Too green, too mismatched, their lead investor had typed, with that passive-aggressive flair only Silicon Alley pricks could muster. In my first life, I'd crumpled, drowned in cheap Merlot, until Elias appeared like a ghost at my co-working space door. Silver hair, slicked back, eyes sharp as a hawk's. Kid, he'd said, voice gravelly from decades of chain-smoking Cubans. You've got balls. Let's steal the world. This time, I wouldn't wait for him. I'd hunt him down first. But smarter. Ruthless. The kind of play that would make the SEC blush and the tabloids cream themselves. Elias had secrets. Oh, I knew them now, etched into my reborn soul like acid. The offshore accounts siphoning our profits. The fabricated patents he'd lifted from a dead rival in the 90s. He'd killed for less back in his .com glory days. Or so the whispers went after my death. A whistleblower crushed under a tragic subway car. This time, I'd drag it all into the light. Or bury him in it. By noon, I was suited up in my one good blazer, black, fitted, screaming "Don't fuck with me," and pounding the pavement toward Midtown. The city hadn't changed. Honking taxis, steam rising from grates like dragon breath. Suits dodging tourists with the precision of linebackers. I felt alive. Electric. Every step a countdown to reckoning. My app idea was still fresh in my mind. ConnectSphere, the social network for gig economy nomads. linking freelancers to blue-chip gigs with AI matchmaking that cut out the middleman sharks. In the first go-round, it had netted us billions before Elias gutted it. This time, I'd own every bite. The Hawthorne Group offices loomed like a monolith on Park Avenue, all glass and steel, a testament to old money's refusal to die. I didn't have an appointment, hell. I didn't even have a business card that wasn't laminated printer paper, but I marched past the receptionist like I owned the joint. "Savannah Reed," I said, flashing a smile that could have sold ice to Eskimos. "Tell Mr. Hawthorne the future's at his door. He won't want to miss this." She blinked, phone halfway to her ear. But something in my eyes, maybe the ghost of the woman who'd stared down Fortune 500 CEOs, made her hit the intercom. Minutes later, I was in the elevator, stomach twisting not with nerves, but anticipation. Elias. God. The memories, his hand on my shoulder during our first pitch. Steady as a rock, the late nights in his library. Him schooling me on antitrust laws over bourbon, the way he'd beam when investors finally bit. Lies. All of it. A long con to fatten his pockets before the knife. The doors dinged open to the penthouse suite, and there he was, leaning against a floor-to-ceiling window, overlooking the chaos below. 70 already? No. This was 2018. He was 63 then, but time had etched him the same. Tall, lean, with that patrician nose and eyes like chipped ice. He turned, appraising me with the lazy confidence of a man who'd never lost. "Miss Reed," he drawled, southern lilt cutting through the AC hum, Atlanta roots he never shook. "Heard about your little app. Ballsy. But Vantage turned you down flat. What makes you think I'd bite?" I didn't flinch. In my past life, I'd stammered, begged. This time, I stepped forward, dropping a flash drive onto his desk like a gauntlet. "Because I'm not asking for a handout, Elias. I'm offering a partnership. 50-50. You bring the Rolodex, I bring the code. And unlike those VCs, you won't regret betting on the kid with the old man." He chuckled, low and rumbling, picking up the drive but not plugging it in. "Everyone's saying it'll fail. Age gap's a joke, me. Pushing retirement, you. Wet behind the ears. Why should I risk my reputation on a pipe dream?" "Because," I said, leaning in, voice steady as steel, "fortune favors the bold. And we've got the balls to steal it." He stared, then, miracle of miracles, plugged it in. The demo flickered to life on his screen, virtual networks pulsing like neurons, gigs popping up in real time for baristas turned coders, drivers moonlighting as marketers. His eyes lit up, just like before. But this time, I saw the calculation behind it, the predator sizing up prey. "All right, Savannah," he said finally, extending a hand weathered by boardroom wars. "Let's make history. Or burn it down trying." We shook, his grip firm, mine ironclad. As I left that office, the city sprawling below like a chessboard, I whispered to myself, "Your move, old man." But checkmate's mine. The next 6 months were a blur of caffeine and conquest. Elias pulled strings I didn't know existed, introductions to angel investors over steak at Delmonico's, quiet dinners where he dropped names like Warren Buffett's pool boy. I coded like a demon, tweaking algorithms in my apartment till dawn, fueled by Red Bull and rage. The doubters piled on. TechCrunch ran a snarky piece, Hawthorne's midlife crisis, teeming with a 20-something tinkerer, and my own family back in Ohio texted warnings about gold-digging geezers. But we didn't care. ConnectSphere beta launched in January 2019, and the downloads flooded in. Freelancers from Queens to Queensbridge hailed it as salvation. Corporations bit hard, licensing our AI for their HR nightmares. By spring, we were in the black, millions, not billions yet, but the trajectory was pornographic. Elias threw a launch party at his Hamptons estate, white tents on emerald lawns, champagne flowing like the Peconic Bay tide. I stood there in a red dress that hugged my curves like a promise, toasting with the elite, hedge fund bros in linen slacks, actresses slumming it for the gram. To the odd couple that proved him wrong, Elias boomed, arms slung around my shoulders like a proud dad. Cameras flashed, headlines brewed. But as the night wore on, I slipped away to his study, rifling drawers under the guise of grabbing smokes. The safe clicked open with a combo I'd memorized in my first life, his wedding date. Ironic bastard. Inside, ledgers, encrypted drives, whispers of embezzlement from his 90s startup, a rival's suicide tied to stolen IP. Proof. I snapped photos on my phone, heart pounding, and slipped back into the fray. No one noticed. Not even when I danced with Elias under the stars, his hand warm on my waist, murmuring, "You're the spark, kid. Don't let this city dim you." Lies. All lies. But I smiled, plotting. The betrayal was coming. I remember the timeline like scripture. In a year, he'd start the siphon, fake subsidiaries, padded expenses. Then the frame job, painting me as the reckless upstart who'd cooked the books. My accident, off the Brooklyn Bridge, ruled a suicide after the feds raided. This time, I'd flipped the script. Summer hit like a freight train, humid, relentless, the kind that turns subways into saunas. We expanded, offices in San Francisco, a London beta. I hired a PI on the sly, a grizzled ex-cop named Ruiz who owed me a favor from a bar fight in my wilder days. Dig into Hawthorne, I told him over greasy diner eggs. Everything. And keep it quiet, he nodded, scar on his cheek twitching. For you? Read? Anything. But this smells like trouble. Trouble was the point. Ruiz delivered in drips. Elias's first wife, dead in a car crash after threatening divorce. Shell companies in the Caymans funneled millions from his .com bust. And the kicker, a buried lawsuit from 2005, accusing him of insider trading that tanked a biotech firm. The victim? My idol, Dr. Lena Voss, who'd mentored me in college before vanishing into obscurity. Elias had crushed her, just like he'd planned for me. I confronted him subtly, over lunch at Le Bernardin, lobster bisque and veiled barbs. Ever think about the ghosts in this game? Elias? The ones we step on to climb. He paused, fork midway to his mouth, eyes narrowing. Every day. Savannah. But sentiments for suckers. Winners bury the bodies. My blood ran cold, but I laughed it off. Then, let's keep winning. Inside. The plan crystallized. Controversial. Yes, borderline illegal. Definitely. I'd leak the Voss file to a hungry reporter at the Post. Anonymous. Timed to our IPO buzz. Watch the stocks wobble. Force Elias to overplay his hand. Then, when he came for me, I'd have the IRS on speed dial. Audits ready to unleash. But doubt crept in like fog off the East River. Late nights, alone with my laptop's glow, I'd stare at old photos, Elias and me at South by Southwest. arms raised in victory, him teaching me poker in his den. Lessons in bluffing that saved our asses in negotiations. Was it all manipulation? Or had there been a sliver of real in the old fox?
No.
I died for his greed. Mercy was for the first life. Fall brought the heat. Our valuation hit 8 figures, Forbes whispered. Next unicorn. Invites poured in, CNBC spots. TEDx slots. I nailed them all. Voice steady. Eyes fierce. Channeling the ghost of the woman who'd lost everything. Elias grew bolder. Offhand comments about protecting the legacy, sidelong glances at my expanding role. During a strategy session in our new Tribeca loft, exposed brick. Skyline views, he snapped. Ease up on the hires.
Kid.
We're a team. Not your playground. I met his gaze. Unflinching. Team means trust. Elias. You got mine. The room went still. Our CFO, a weaselly Yale grad named Trent, shifted uncomfortably. Elias forced a smile. Always.
Liar.
That night, Ruiz called. Got something big. Meet at the usual. The usual was a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen. Neon flickering like a bad omen. He slid a manila envelope across the scarred wood. Inside, bank records. Transfers from ConnectSphere to a Hawthorne phantom entity. Started last month. And a photo, grainy, but unmistakable, Elias meeting a fixer in a shadowed alley. The kind of guy who made problems disappear. It's war, Ruiz said, nursing a whiskey. You sure you want to dance this tango? I folded the envelope. Pulse thundering. I've danced it before.
And lost.
Not again. The leak dropped 2 weeks later. Hawthorne's shadow empire. Allegations of past fraud rock tech titan, screamed the Post headline. Our stock dipped, investors spooked, but Elias rallied, denying it all an oppressor. Voice booming with righteous fury. Smears from jealous as beans. ConnectSphere's clean as a whistle. Behind closed doors. He cornered me in the loft. You know anything about this? His face was thunder. Veins bulging like rivers on a map. I played dumb. Heart racing. Me?
Hell no.
But if it's true, we handle it together. Right? He searched my eyes. Then deflated.
Yeah. Together.
But the seed was planted. Paranoia festered. He started auditing my code, questioning my expenses. Trent whispered in his ear. The little shit, I'd catch him eyeing my chair like a prize. Winter loomed, snow dusting the streets like powdered sugar on a corpse. Our IPO loomed too, December 2020. A date burned in my brain. In the first life, it had been the peak before the plunge. This time, I'd make it his pyre. I escalated. Controversial didn't cover it. I hired hackers, ethical, or so they claimed from the dark web forums, to trace Elias's digital footprints. Cost me half my seed money, but the data poured in, encrypted emails to Cayman banks. A hit on Voss's old firm that screamed sabotage. And the gut punch, a draft will, leaving ConnectSphere to his estranged son, a trust fund fuck-up in Miami, with me written out as unreliable, rage boiled, pure and primal. I drafted my counter, a whistleblower packet to the DOJ, anonymized, loaded with Ruiz's docs and the hack's proofs. One click, and it'd go viral. But timing was everything. Wait for the IPO hype, then drop the bomb. Watch him squirm as the fortune he'd craved turned to ash. The night before the bell, Elias called me to his estate. Hamptons again. But no party, just firelight flickering on brandy snifters. Savannah, he said, voice soft, almost broken. This ride. It's been something. You remind me of her.
You know.
Lena. Fire and all. My blood froze. Lena Voss. He knew, or suspected. I sipped. Steady. Flattered. But legends don't get buried. Elias. They rise. He leaned forward, eyes gleaming. Some do. If they're pushed. The threat hung, thick as smoke. I left at dawn. Snow crunching under tires. Packet uploaded to a dead man switch. If anything happened to me, boom. The IPO dawn crisp. NASDAQ floor electric with suits and screens. Elias and I side by side. Cameras blinding. To the future, he toasted. Arm around me. I smiled for the feeds, whispering, burn in it.
Share sword.
Champagne popped. Then, as confetti rained, my phone buzzed. Trent. Frantic. Feds at the door. Something about fraud. Old stuff. Elias's face drained of color. He rounded on me. Whisper hiss. You bitch. You did this. Self-defense. I shot back. Voice low. You started the war. Chaos erupted. Raids. Headlines twisting like knives. Elias vanished into lawyers. I played the shocked ingenue. Testifying in closed sessions. Dripping just enough truth to sink him without drowning myself. The controversial calls? The hacks, gray area. But untraceable. The leak, protected speech. Ruiz vanished to Mexico. A fat envelope his retirement. Weeks blurred into indictments. Elias's empire crumbled. Assets frozen. Son disowned. Ghosts of Voss rising in civil suits. He called once. From a holding cell. Voice cracked. Why, kid, we had it all. You took mine, I said. Simple as that. Now it's even. The twist hit like a sucker punch. As the dust settled, connects fear mine. Valuation tripled on the sympathy surge. I found the letter in his safe. The one I'd missed before. Not a will. A confession. To Lena's death, not murder. But mercy. Cancer. Stage 4. He'd ease her out. Faked the crash to spare her legacy the pity. And me? Not greed. Protection. His son, the real snake, had been Trent's puppet master, plotting to oust us both. Elias had been building the case. Slow.
To shield me.
Doubt cracked my armor. Had I avenged a ghost that wasn't mine? Or forged a new one? I visited him in Rikers. Glass between us like judgment. Truth, he rasped. Older than 70 now. Broken. I slid the photo across the one of us at launch. Grinning idiots. We made a fortune. But the cost. He nodded. Tears carving tracks. Finish it. Savannah. For both of us. I walked out into the rain. Free but fractured. The empire was mine. But the spark?
Dimmed.
Revenge tasted like ash. Fortune hollow. In the end, I sold shares. Funded startups for kids like 25-year-old me. Hungry. Unbroken. Elias got 10 years. House arrest after 2. His son? Rotting in a low-rent scam. Happy? Tragic?
Pick your poison. Me?
I live. And that's the real win. The fallout from the IPO raid was a media circus on steroids, paparazzi swarming my brownstone like locusts, tabloids splashing, tech siren sinks Silver Fox across every bodega rack in the city. I holed up in a safe house upstate, a rented cabin on Lake Placid that smelled of pine and isolation. Laptop my only companion. Connect Sphere hummed on autopilot. Servers in the cloud indifferent to the human wreckage below. Billions in limbo. Investors howling for blood. Mine or Elias's. Didn't matter as long as someone bled. Ruiz checked in via burner. You're trending.
Boss.
Read Revenge is blowing up Twitter. Half call you a badass, half say you're the devil in heels. I snorted, scrolling the feed on my encrypted line. Memes of me as a vengeful Valkyrie, Elias as Scrooge mid-melt. The controversial bits? Buried deep in Reddit threads, whispers of my unethical sourcing, hackers I'd allegedly unleashed. No proof stuck. I was the victim, the plucky underdog who'd outfox the fox. But guilt gnawed like termites in drywall. Nights were the worst. Dreams replayed the first death, water closing over my head, lungs burning. Elias's voice on the bridge. It's for the best.
Kid.
Clean slate. I'd wake gasping. Sheets tangled. The cabin's silence mocking my rebirth. Was this second chance a gift or a curse? I'd clawed back. Built walls of NDAs and alibis. But the fortune felt tainted now. Every zero in my offshore account. Irony. Huh. Reminder of the man who'd half-raised me. By week 3, the feds cleared me, full exoneration. Elias's ledgers painting him solo in the fraud. I returned to the city a ghost in my own life. Tribeca loft echoing with absence. Trent had fled to Dubai. The coward. But I tracked him easy, old habits from the PI days. A midnight call. My voice syrup sweet. Miss me? Junior? Enjoy the sand. Extradition's a bitch. He hung up sobbing. I blocked the number. Satisfaction fleeting as a sugar rush. Rebuilding started small, poaching talent from competitors. Rebranding ConnectSphere as SphereNet, sleeker. Less haunted. I hired a new CFO. A sharp Latina from Stanford named Carla, who eyed me like a puzzle. Heard the stories, she said over takeout pho in the conference room. You really take down a legend? Legends fall, I replied. Chopsticks pausing. Question is, do you want to build one or chase ghosts? She grinned.
Fierce.
Build. But no more skeletons in the closet. Read. Promise. Half true. The Voss file? I digitized it. Locked in a vault app tied to my will. If I went down, it went public, insurance against copycats. Elias's trial was the real circus. Federal courthouse in Foley Square, a zoo of suits and spectators. I testified, voice steady, detailing the discoveries I'd made, omitting the rebirth. Obviously. He mentored me, then betrayed that trust, I said to the jury. 12 everyday New Yorkers with subway-weary eyes. Greed doesn't discriminate by age. Gasps rippled, the prosecutor beamed. Elias sat stone-faced. No Silver Fox charm left, just a shell in ill-fitting jail blues. Cross-exam. His lawyer, a slick K Street import, tried to twist it. MS. Read. Isn't it true you had intimate relations with Mr. Hawthorne? A lover's quarrel turned vendetta? The room sucked air. Intimate? Bullshit. Elias had been grandfatherly. Avuncular, boozy chess games. Not bedroom romps. But the implication hung. Controversial as a lit match in a powder keg. Tabloids ate it. Was it love or loot? My team lawyered up fast. Defamation suits flying. Still, the stain lingered. Whispers in elevators. Side eyes at networking events. I didn't crumble. Instead, I leaned in press tour. My story spun as empowerment fable. From betrayal to billions, how I reclaimed my empire, I titled the Fast Company piece. Ghost-written, but gut punch real. Views exploded, keynotes followed, South by Southwest redux. Me on stage in leather pants and resolve. Crowd roaring. Age is just a number, I preached. Trust? That's the real killer. But privately, cracks showed. Carla caught me one dawn, staring at the Hudson from the loft balcony. Coffee gone cold. Talk to me.
Save.
You're carrying this like Atlas on steroids. I sighed. City lights blurring. Ever wonder if revenge is just another cage? I came back, metaphorically, for blood. Now I've got the throne. But it feels empty. She squeezed my arm. Then fill it. Mentor someone. Pay it forward, not backward. Her words stuck. A seed in barren soil. I started a fund, Read Rising. Seed money for under 30 founders. No strings, but ethics clauses ironclad. First grant, a queer coder from the Bronx building an app for immigrant job networks. Watching her pitch. Fire in her eyes, like mine at 25. Something thawed. Elias wrote from prison, letters smuggled via his lawyer. Handwriting shaky. Kid. The confession. It was mercy for Lena. For you, it was fear. My boy, Trent Strings, he was coming for us both. I stalled to protect you. Forgive an old fool. I burned the first 3. The 4th, I answered, neutral ground, visitor's room at Otisville camp. Upstate greenery mocking the bars. He looked frail, cheeks hollowed, but eyes still sharp. Savannah. You came. Closure, I said, taking the seat. No glass this time, federal perk for the well-behaved. The letter. Truth, he nodded.
Slow. Lena. She begged.
Don't let them see me fade. I made it quick.
Clean.
Buried the evidence to honor her fight. As for you, I saw the sun plotting. Heard the whispers. Planned to expose him post-IPO. Cut you in on everything. But you struck first. My throat tightened. Twist upon twist, the antagonist wasn't just scheming, he was shielding. Why not tell me?
Pride.
And you were the daughter I never had. Didn't want to dim your shine. He reached, hand trembling. I let him take mine. Calluses rough against my palm. Forgive, he asked. Voice a whisper. The controversial decision, mercy or justice. I thought of my death. The river's cold embrace, his empire's ghosts. Including mine. Not yet, I said. But maybe. If you rot quiet. He smiled.
Faint.
Fair enough. Build big.
Kid.
For us. I left with weight lifted.
Not gone.
The trial ended. 8 years. Reduced for cooperation. He served 4. Paroled to assisted living in Boca. Out of the game. His son? Extradited. Plea deal for 10 in white-collar hell. SphereNet boomed, acquisitions, global reach. I dated. Cautious, a barista-turned-venture scout with laugh lines and no agendas. Weekends in the Hamptons. Not haunting but healing. Salt air washing sins. but the rebirth's edge lingered. Late nights, I'd trace the calendar scar, September 15th, 2018, and wonder, if I'd waited, trusted, would the fortune have been sweeter? Or was the betrayal real or perceived? The forge that made me unbreakable? One dawn. Package at my door. Elias's old Rolex. Engraved to the spark, EH. Note inside. Time heals. Use it wisely. I strapped it on. Cool against skin. Controversial? Hell yes. Wearing the enemy's watch. But in America's grind, forgiveness was the ultimate power move. 2 years post-trial. The empire was a machine, SphereNet valued at $5 billion. Me on every 30 under 35 list from Wired to Wharton. Board meetings in glass towers. Private jets to Davos, where I'd sip glowwine with oligarchs and drop truth bombs on gender gaps in VC. The public loved it. Savannah Reed, the phoenix from the ashes, doling wisdom like betrayal's the best teacher, tuition's just your soul. Applause thundered, book deals followed. But the hook, the raw, shocking core of my story, stayed buried. No one knew the river's whisper, the impossible rewind. It was my secret, a buried crime of fate I'd suffered and survived. Controversy dogged me still. A whistleblower, some disgruntled dev, leaked code snippets, claiming I'd backdoored user data for targeted ads. Bullshit. Mostly, the hacker's fingerprints faint, but there. Senate hearings loomed, Hill's staffers sniffing for scandal. I lawyered up, testified cool as cryo. Ethics first. Always. The probe fizzled, lobbyists earning their keep, but the stain? Permanent ink. Protests outside HQ. Reed's revenge. Data or death? Chants echoed off the lobby marble. Kids with signs channeling my old fire against me. Carla handled the PR spin, turning it into a pivot. Transparency initiative, open sourcing parts of the AI. Audits quarterly. Stock dipped 8%, rebounded 15%. But personally, it cracked the facade. I ghosted the barista, too messy for his normalcy, and dove deeper into work. The grind my armor. Then the twist that gutted me, a letter from Boca. Elias's scrawl. Not long now.
Kid.
One last ask. Visit. Truths untold. Cancer, prostate. Aggressive. The irony bitter as his old bourbon. I flew south. Rental beamer hugging the coast. Palms blurring into regret. The facility was no Rikers golf greens. Ocean views. Retirees puttering like faded pros. Elias waited on a veranda. Oxygen tube snaking from nose to tank. Skin paper-thin. Savannah, he wheezed. Eyes lighting like embers. You came back. Full circle, I said, pulling up a wicker chair. No handshake, frailty won. We talked small first, SphereNet's wins. His bridge games he cheated. Naturally. Then the deep dive. The sun. He wasn't mine by blood. Affair. Back in 95. Lena knew. Forgave. But he hated me for it. Saw me as the thief who stole his spotlight. Pieces clicked. Trent's puppetry. The offshore webs. Why not expose him sooner? Fear. Of losing you. The empire we built. He coughed. Ragged. And the real secret? Connect's fear wasn't my first rodeo. I stole the core AI from Voss's lab, her life's work. Meant to honor it. But greed. Twisted. My stomach knotted. The buried crime I'd suffered? Not just betrayal, built on theft. Lena's ghost wasn't mercy killed. She'd been erased. You used me to launder it. He nodded, tears spilling. Foolish.
But you.
Kid, you made it pure. Forgive, or finish the job. The climax, my revenge. Reborn. I could walk. Let him fade. His sins dust. Or mercy, destroy the drives. Bury the theft forever. Controversial as hell. Absolution for a killer. Empire on stolen bones. I chose gray. We burn it together. Back in New York. I torch the files, digital pyre. Traces erased. Donated millions to Voss scholarships. Her name resurrected in bronze plaques. Elias died 3 months later. Peaceful. No to me. Fortune's fleeting. You were the real win. I scattered his ashes off the Brooklyn Bridge, not the death spot, but the birth of our odd empire. Wind whipped, carrying him to the Hudson's mercy. Life post-Elias? A new rhythm. I stepped back from CEO. Carla promoted. Me to chair, shadow power. Less spotlight. Dated a writer. Loki. His stories filling the quiet. Reed Rising flourished. Birthing unicorns from unlikely pairs. 20-somethings with septuagenarians. Defying the doubters. The shocking hook of it all? Rebirth wasn't about blood, mine or his. It was resurrection. Choosing not to drown in the river again. Fortune came. Yes, yachts. Philanthropy galas. American dream distilled. But the tension? Eternal. Every deal a potential betrayal. Every partner a ghost. One night. Skyline aglow. I raised a glass to the mirror me at 25. Wild-eyed. Unbreakable. We made it. I toasted. And we do it again. Twist ending. Happy. With teeth. Because in this second life, I didn't just survive the fall, I learned to fly.